What is going on, YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the 2008 EP by the R.O.C. Basically, this project is called Welcome to the Dark Side, and it came out, yeah, like I was saying, somewhere in 2008, I would have to say. But the thing about this particular project, I don't know a ton about the R.O.C. I recently discovered him when I listened to and reviewed basically Blaze You Dead Homies Clockwork Gray album from 2007. That was a pretty awesome album. I gave that album like a 10 out of 10. But I would have to say I remember like the R.O.C. was on that album a bunch. And he's basically, if you didn't know about that, if you are coming to this review and you don't know already, the R.O.C. was basically Blaze You Dead Homies hype man for a time, and he was on. Both of them were kind of on Psychopathic Records for a while, and this project, Welcome to the Dark Side, came out on Hatchet House, which is pretty awesome. So it's definitely Hatchet House is a subsidiary of Psychopathic Records for a while. It had smaller cats on there. It's not like R.O.C. was a smaller cat in terms of quality, but just in terms of the concepts. That's kind of the thing. But yeah, so basically, Blaze You Dead Homie was kind of like Twisted's hype man. Twisted was kind of like ICP's hype man, hype group, and that type of stuff. And then further down the route, I would say that the R.O.C. was Blaze You Dead type man. So that's kind of the concept about it. So that's where you get the subsidiary label as far as that kind of goes. But it's a pretty awesome project here. Definitely like what I saw on this particular project. Lots of good stuff. Yeah, lots of good stuff about this project. This is another one that has some really good quality about it, and I'd have to say it's up there with some of the better Juggalo releases that I've heard in a while now. It may not get a 10 out of 10 this project, but it's definitely pretty quality on here. Out of the 6 songs, I wound up recommending at least 4.5. So that's pretty much the thing about it. Makes me wonder, because the thing about it is just the fact that the R.O.C. had a number of projects. So when it seems like he doesn't have that many, in terms of like his solo stuff, he doesn't have an ass load of kind of content out. But I would have to say he has probably at least 3 or 4 projects. Maybe, I mean, he has a number of EPs, at least 3 albums, some stuff like that. So there's some stuff like Digital Voodoo and like other stuff like that I don't know about, like another album called Exposed. But he's also with like the House of Crazies, which was a group that he was with Twisted back in the 90s. That's some stuff that Twisted did before they joined Psychopathic and became Twisted and that type of stuff. So that's just kind of the concept about it. There's a number there's a number of stuff that kind of happened, but apparently, I mean, he has a hodgepodge of kind of records, but this is probably one of the more notable ones. This is definitely a good one to start off with. I would definitely have to say, especially considering the fact that he was still kind of affiliated with Psychopathic and ICP around this time, and Blaze You Dead and some of those type folks. So he joined like later in the 2010s. He joined Twisted's label and that type of stuff, the Magic Ninja Entertainment. But I would have to say this is pretty dope here. It's really too bad that there weren't more projects that they did with Hatchet House and that type of stuff, because apparently like the R.O.C. retired in 2009, which was kind of disappointing, but he came right back. He came back in like the early 2010s as far as that kind of went. But this is just kind of like a brief, kind of almost one shot on ICP's label. But there's definitely some good stuff here. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about. I'm going to go ahead and recommend the song. There's 6 songs on here, and I recommend 4.5 out of 6 on here. So those 4 songs I recommend would be About to Expire, Voices, Hello, and Spawned. And the Almost song is I'm Here. So that's basically about 5 songs out of 6 on here. The only real song that there's an intro called Cosmic Adventure with Cosmic Pimp, which is pretty slick, but I'm just gonna focus on the songs. That's kind of the concept here. I would have to say the Almost song, I'm Here. This one is the Almost song, I'm Here, is a ground level, turned up, local city traverse cut. I would say it's a mini party cut, I would definitely feel like, but the beat is kind of simple. So this is one where the beat was a little bit grating, but it definitely works as like a miniature kind of party cut. Just kind of one to get turned up to in a more local and kind of residential sense. It's definitely something that's a little bit more low key, kind of ground level, this kind of entry type stuff as far as getting things kind of in a more boppish sense. I just like this kind of concept of getting some of these, but I still feel like the production was almost somewhat grating, not quite as wholesomely hitting as some of the other songs on here. But it's just kind of an entry one for just kind of just lackadaisical kind of white noise and that type of stuff as far as that kind of goes. But it's just kind of one I do feel like the entry type feel of it might be. I mean, it's good, but it just is a beat that kind of has a learning curve towards it. But it is kind of like a miniature party cut. So that's a nice one. It's almost song for me. A nice one that's on here is Hello, and this has Shaggy 2 Dope, which I didn't really notice him on this song. I don't know if he just did the chorus or something, but this is still a pretty nice song. It's kind of a dazed, overcast out and about type tune. I would say it's some good city hopping malaise, and it's kind of starry eyed, but it's kind of one that's starry eyed and a little bit more ambitious and kind of more driven as far as that's kind of concerned. But it just keeps like the hazy type feel about it. It's just really malaise. I like the concept behind it. It just really has like a derelict kind of feel, I would have to say. So this is just a nice one. Definitely like the kind of malaise type feel. This is kind of the closest thing to like makeshift on this particular album, I would say. I like the concept of kind of getting some of this malaise type stuff just for city hopping, just kind of in a kind of starry-eyed type feel as far as that kind of goes. But I just look after just being able to say that most of this album is not really makeshift. It's kind of more of a party album, which I definitely enjoy. But it's just kind of the concept of this is just kind of maybe you're just paying some bills, hitting up the mailbox, that type of stuff, getting some groceries, some snacks, some Pepsis, some goodies, some stuff like that as far as that's kind of concerned. But it's just kind of a malaise kind of song that I definitely like. Just really kind of bewildered almost in a lot of ways. Voices is a pretty nice one. This has Jamie Madrox from Twisted on here, so this is another good bop on here. This is definitely pretty some low-key city hop and bop type jive about it, I would say. Maybe a bit dazed, I would say, and it's an overcast cut with some bounce, and it's pretty typical as far as that kind of goes. So this is just kind of one. This beat is kind of outlandish. This is kind of more of an abstract and kind of this is just kind of one that's more of an abstract and kind of unorthodox approach as far as getting like some of this outlandish production. But it's kind of similar to I'm Here, but this beat on Voices is a little bit catchier, kind of tribal almost. It really feels like a city hopping type tune as far as that kind of goes. It's definitely like the concept of getting this one as far as just kind of like some just being around the city, sipping a few brews, that type stuff as far as that kind of goes. Just kind of smoking a swish or something like that. Just kind of standard this city hopping kind of social kind of powwow as far as that kind of goes, just that sort of concept. Definitely like the malaise about that one. It definitely feels like something. I want to say that the R.O.C is from Michigan also. Like I think Twisted is from Michigan, like ICP and some of them. So this is just kind of some city hopping type powwow type stuff as far as just like the bigger buildings like Philadelphia and New York and some of those type places. This works as like some good skyscraper type malaise and concrete jungle type stuff as far as that kind of goes. So that's a nice one. About to Expire has a really nice beat on here. This is a dark synthy electronic glazed bop. I would definitely have to say it's a haunting, riveting time of a song. I definitely feel like, and it's a smoke a few cuts. So this is probably one of the more smoke ready. This is probably one of the more smoke ready type ones as far as that kind of goes. It's a good night session as far as that kind of goes. Just electronic and synthy really works pretty well. This could almost be like a nightclub song, just something for stepping out a bit and just kind of more powwow type stuff as far as that's kind of concerned. It's definitely, I feel like a lot of these songs are just kind of I feel like a lot of these songs on here are just kind of more local residential type bops as far as that's kind of concerned. But this is definitely one that has that electronic kind of sense and just kind of is just good for like some smoke sessions, whether it's at a night venue or something like that, or just kind of more just out and about, or it could just be residential house party type stuff. It just works as kind of like something this, and it's kind of typical. The reason why I say it'd be more local is just because I don't know the sheer amount of clubs that would know to the severe degree about R.O.C. Not to say that he's that small time, but just kind of the concept is just uncommon to even hear a few folks up like Twisted or even Blaze You Dead out and about. So it's just kind of the concept. Even ICP is not hugely common, and to certain degrees as far as that kind of goes. So you look after it, these are just definite good city bops as far as that's kind of concerned. But it's just this kind of works as a great house party bop, but also a pretty good night venue bop, depending upon how the concept of it kind of goes. I would have to say so. It's a good synthy electronic one, and then Spawn is kind of a brewing horrorcore gem. I would say it's a freakish night flare of a song, has freakish night flare type vibes about it, and it's just a comfy kind of get crunk song, but it's composed. So I like the concept of this one. This one definitely feels like a Blaze You Dead song, I would have to say. It just reminds me of something that's kind of more horrorcore-ish and just kind of more freakish in a lot of ways. Just kind of has that oozing kind of feel as far as something meant for Halloween or some autumn type fare as far as that kind of goes. Definitely a good song to get crunk to and smoke a few to, but I would also have to say it's just rather composed. It's not quite as much of like a shrill party cut as much as I'm Here or About to Expire or Voices or some of those type ones, but it's definitely a good one to kind of have just for like a brewing type gem, just to kind of kick back a bit. It's definitely a pretty good one to kind of kick back a bit and marinate and relax as far as that's kind of concerned. Just good bops for that sort of concept. So yeah, that's basically the thing. So the only real song I don't recommend on this project is just Stress Release. And I just couldn't get into the production of that one. That one kind of had like a screeching beat, something that was just trying to be a little bit more electronic, kind of like in between like spawned and about to expire, but I kind of felt like this variation, just how the beat kind of worked, was just a little bit too screechy and just overall didn't have like a good kind of concoction of what to do. I mean, I felt like it could have been like some decent nightclub fare, but it just didn't really have enough kind of like polished approach as far as how to do it. This was kind of the dress release is probably the most awkward one on here, I would have to say, at least in terms of like sheer quality. But that's just kind of the concept about it. But I look after it, me basically liking 4.5 songs out of 6 where I'm here. So me basically liking 4.5 songs out of 6 where I'm here is an almost song, but I'm on the fence about it currently. But I'd say I probably wind up liking it a lot more later. But we'll just kind of say it's just in between right now. So me liking 4.5 songs out of 6 on this project. I'm gonna go ahead and give this EP like an 8.5 out of 10. If I had disliked I'm Here a little bit better, it'd probably get like a 9, 9.25, something like that. Pretty much almost a 10. I just look after it. Partially the reason why this doesn't get a higher score is just because there's not really a single, and it just didn't feel like this project got promoted as well as it needed to. And just on top of that, ROC didn't really stick around on Hatchet House, the record label, that long, so we didn't really get to see the magic that could have happened with that particular label as far as that kind of went. So that's just kind of the concept. I don't know if there were any music videos, any promotion, that type of stuff. I mean, he's pretty low key, just to kind of say, yeah, the ROC is pretty low key. It's just kind of the concept that there is some quality on here. It was just kind of the concept that it's just more entry and just kind of rough draft type stuff, just kind of more edgier and raw type stuff as far as that kind of goes with it. There's definitely some quality here. So the social score, I'm going to give like a 7 out of 10 because I do like the quality on here. I think this is like standard Juggalo fare as far as some good bops and stuff like that, city hopping and just kind of traverse throughout the town and being out on the town and that type of stuff. Some good house party stuff also, but there's just not really a single, and I don't know about promotion. I mean, it's got Shaggy 2 Dope, Jamie Madrox's on here, and Blaze You Dead on here, but I kind of look after, I just don't know what the single was and what ROC's kind of biggest songs are, which is definitely something that I had questions about. So that's just kind of the concept about it. But in terms of the future, like ROC has kind of been around. He's been on Twisted's Magic Ninja Entertainment label, so he has been dropping stuff, but it's just been kind of up in the air. So I'm curious as to what he's going to do and what he's been up to. But he has a ton of projects. I'll have to get to some more of these later, but this is definitely a pretty solid release here.